Y'all know what time it is.
Y'all know what
It's
time it
that
is.
real talk, straight talk with the
Ooh, you
royal
know what it
queen.
is.
with the
It's
Royal
straight
Queen.
talk
Hey,
with the
check
Royal
in Straight
Queen.
Talk with the Royal Queen.
Y'all know what time it is. It's
Yeah, yeah,
straight
yeah.
talk with the
Hey,
royal
we
queen.
straight talking with the
Yes,
Royal
baby.
Queen right
It's
now.
that time when you finna hit that real talk, straight talk with the royal queen. Hey guys, it's the royal queen, and I'm here with another episode, and we have Bishop Phelps with us here today. How you doing, Bishop?
I'm doing good. How you doing?
I am great. I'm so happy to have you
I'm
here.
glad to be here.
You have a wonderful story, and I feel like people need to hear it. Okay.
Let's do it.
All right, so I'm gonna get right into it, Bishop. What was life like for you growing up on Lemon Street?
Lemon Street was adventurous.
Hmm.
You had your highs and your lows, but at the end of the day, I wouldn't trade it for the world. I mean, we were poor, but we were happy. I had a great childhood. I stayed outside. I had lots of friends. Um, we saw a lot of things that we shouldn't have saw,
Hmm.
but at the end of the day, those experiences, whether good or bad, made me into the man that I am today.
All right.
So I'm Lemon Street for life.
Okay. I'm Clay Holmes for life slash Boston Holmes now. um, Bishop, how did you get the nickname Ebby?
My mom gave me that nickname
Hmm.
when I was a kid. So my father named me Sibio, and my mom gave me the nickname Ebby. Where she got it from, I have the slightest idea.
Okay. Well, you got to ask her that one day.
I think I will. I'll
Okay.
ask her tomorrow.
You have a past. You were a drug dealer at one point in time, right?
I would say a broker.
A broker. Okay. A broker. Um, why did you decide to get into that business?
um, Realistically, it was something that was quite surprising because a lot of people are shocked that I became a pastor, a bishop, what have you. But the reality of it is, for people that knew me as a child,
Hmm.
me becoming a pastor wasn't anything that was surprising
Hmm.
because of how I grew up as a child. The bigger surprise was the fact that I got in the streets,
Hmm.
and I not only got in the streets, I was good at it.
Hmm.
So um, I started selling drugs when I was like 16 years old. I was in the 11th grade, and it happened based upon the necessity of me trying to buy a car
Hmm.
after my car was totaled
Okay.
when I was in the 11th grade. So I began back then. You would get 20 off 100.
Hmm.
So if somebody give you 5 sacks, you bring them back, $80,
Hmm.
or they give you six $20 bags, and you bring them back $100. So that's how I started. And then once I realized that, you know, I ain't getting ready to make nobody else rich,
Hmm.
I started going and get my own package.
Right.
And, within a 6 month period, I went from, you know, hustling on the streets to basically selling weight myself.
Okay.
And so,
This gonna surprise you. Me asking you this. Okay.
okay.
What does the name Greg Bankston mean to you?
Wow. Greg was like a father figure to me.
Hmm.
He was somebody that I met in 1992. And matter of fact, the fall of '92, I met him at the Blue Flame,
Hmm.
and he was like a mentor, father figure to me. He was the person that basically took me up under his wing, and that's who I started dealing with. Because the guy who I was first dealing with, he got knocked by the feds,
Hmm.
and so I met Greg at the Blue Flame, and we hit it off. Yeah, he passed maybe like in 1995, 96.
Okay.
Yeah,
I did my research.
you did your research.
Yes,
You
sir.
did some research to come up with that name. You did some
I
research.
did my research, Bishop. I
Yeah.
did my research. Um, One of your childhood friends, I spoke with them, and They told me that you guys had an incident one night in Buckhead at the club with Jermaine Dupri and Chris Tucker. It was over a VIP section.
Yeah.
You remember that story?
Yeah, I've had incidents with a little bit of everybody.
Okay.
P did it too.
Okay. Tell us what happened that night with Jermaine Dupri.
Basically, when we would go to 112, back then, the first, if you go into, I like to be downstairs because they had VIP upstairs and they had the VIP right off the main floor by the dance floor. And so that first booth, when you walk in to the left, that was my booth.
Okay.
So they wanted my booth, and you can't have my booth. And so that's how everything escalated.
Yeah, I heard Jermaine Dupri was pretty pissed off that night about that section.
Yeah, he didn't get it though.
I heard he didn't get it now. I heard he didn't get it, Bishop.
Yeah.
I heard he didn't get it. You did a little time in prison, right?
Yes.
Tell me a little bit about that.
That was a very rough time for me, and because of the way I went to prison.
Okay.
The way I went to the feds, like the feds never knew anything about me. The reason why, because I was low key. I stayed to myself. I never, fooled around with no, I never had a plug. I never had a connect where somebody was dropping X amount of bricks off. I was an independent contractor.
Okay.
So I got set up. By my cousin's baby daddy.
Okay.
That was the one who did it. And I got set up by a police officer was behind it, who we grew up with, who we actually, after I got arrested, I found out that he's my cousin.
Okay.
We grew up together in Marietta. Never knew that we were related. His grandfather and my grandmother first cousin, so he's my third cousin by blood.
Okay. How much time did you have to do?
I did 57 months.
Okay.
So that's 3 months. That's 3 months shy of 5 years.
Okay. So I want to ask you this.
Yeah.
Okay. You got in trouble. You went to prison. Because I know a lot of times guys go to prison and they're like, Lord, if you get me out of this, I'm done. Yeah. Did you have a moment like that?
No, when I went to prison, I was mad. I was pissed off. I was very angry because when I had got locked up by the feds, I had already walked away from the streets. So the feds, I had two controlled buys. One controlled buy was orchestrated by MCS. It was orchestrated by the Cobra team, and the agent at the time didn't want Cobb County to indict me because they said my attorney had connections in the DA office. So he took it upon himself to take my case to the feds because at the time he knew that I was real close to somebody in Atlanta that was under a federal investigation. And so me and him, we were like brothers. We still like brothers.
Okay.
And so the feds found interest in the case with me to bring me into a multi-jurisdictional conspiracy, and about 23 people from Atlanta, all of us got arrested, and they charged us for conspiracy, and it wasn't no conspiracy because at the end of the day, a person having a buyer-seller relationship with another individual is not a conspiracy. As you got a buyer-seller relationship, but because ultimately the person that they wanted was Jamal Lewis, who at the time was the All-Pro, running back for the Baltimore Ravens. So that's the reason ultimately why all of us got locked up.
Bishop, a lot of people, outsiders, but your childhood friends and a lot of people you were close to, you talked about opening up your own ministry in the 90s.
Yeah, I grew up in church,
Mm-hmm.
so I was a church boy. Like my grandfather and my grandmother were charter members of Pilgrim Baptist Church. My grandfather was the actual co-founder,
Mm-hmm.
Deacon Dover Farrell. So for me, church was my life. I mean, I was a church kid. I led songs in the choir as a kid, so I received prophecies since the time I was old enough to talk and remember that I would be a pastor, so that I would be a preacher, that God would use me. So that that wasn't that wasn't far off.
Mm-hmm.
What didn't make sense, what the curveball was, the streets.
Mm-hmm.
The curveball was, you take a boy that was a church boy, a virgin, um, honor roll,
Mm-hmm.
ran for class president in school, student council, student representative, perfect attendance,
Mm-hmm.
honor roll student, and he went left.
Mm-hmm.
That was the big surprise.
Mm-hmm.
So like for all the people that I grew up with, it it's not a surprise to them. Like
Yeah.
people that don't really know me, it might be a surprise, but for people that I grew up with, they ain't surprised by that.
Now, were you made to go to church when you was younger?
No, I wasn't made to go to church. I like church.
Did you?
Yeah, I like church because um, I went to church with my grandmother,
Mm-hmm.
because I spent the night with my grandmother. My grandmother lived at the time when I was a kid. She lived off a fairground. Then she moved to um, Kennesaw Village, and then from Kennesaw Village, they bought a house in Sedgeville,
Mm-hmm.
right over in Sedgeville. Probably when I was about, I say maybe like 8 years old,
Mm-hmm.
8, 9 years old. So I look forward to going to church.
Yeah.
If I stayed home with my mom on Lemon Street on the weekends, then realistically, I probably wouldn't go to church. But every weekend, I was with my grandmother,
Mm-hmm.
so we went to church, and I love church.
Yeah. We didn't have a choice.
Yeah.
We had to go to church.
Now I wanted to go.
Yeah. We didn't have a choice.
Yeah, I like to sing in. I mean, I like to sing in the choir.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it was fun for me.
Yeah. I mean, we had fun when we got there, but our grandmama, she didn't play. We had to go. When did you fully give your life back to Christ?
I would say after I got out of the feds. When I first got out of the feds, I was full of so much anger. I was mad at God. I was mad at the two individuals that, worked together to, send me off. Basically, I went to the feds over a girl,
Mm-hmm.
because the agent thought that I was messing with his girl.
Mm-hmm.
And at the time, I wasn't. I had messed with her in the past.
Mm-hmm.
But at the time, when he thought that we was dealing with each other, she actually was just helping me with a term paper for college, because I never did it in high school.
Okay.
Because by the time we was doing term papers in high school, I was already in the streets, so I wasn't doing no term papers. So that's how I went to feds. I went to the feds over a girl.
Wow.
Yeah. So when I got out of the feds, man, I was worse. Like when I came home, I was a terror. I was a tyrant when I came home.
How old were you
When
at
I
that time?
when I came home in 2006, I was 32, getting ready to be 33.
So I want to ask you, when you first became a father, how did that change your life?
Man, that was the highlight of my life. Um, when I became a father, that made me responsible.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Because before Deja, I wasn't really responsible.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It was all about going out, having fun, making money. But Deja, she changed my life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And how old were you when Deja was born?
Deja was born in 1999. She was born in 99. So I was 25 going on 26 when she was born.
Okay. I want to ask you this question. You
Mm-hmm.
have such a beautiful wife.
Mm-hmm.
I remember years ago you told me that you guys dated in Or you were good friends? Was it high school or middle school?
Now we dated in like 92, 93.
Okay.
We dated back in those days. She used to live across the street from my boy, uh, Patrick Humble.
Mhm.
And I was at Patrick's house one day, and I looked outside and I saw her, and I was like, "Man, Patrick, who is that?" He was like, "Who, LaRonna?" I was like, "Yo, who is that?" He was like, "Man, go holler at her." So I walked across the street, and back then we had beepers.
Mhm.
So I gave her my beeper number, gave her the code. You know what I mean? You beat me, put in 0101.
Mhm.
But everybody had 0101. You know what I mean? So I gave everybody 0101. So, but she was slick though, cause she was from Atlanta.
Mhm.
So she just thought I was the average, you know, slow, lame Marietta dude.
Mhm.
And so when we started dealing with each other, I was like light years. I was light years ahead of her because I
Mhm.
was I was a little slicker than what she was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You
So.
purchased a church and you named it Jehovah Jireh.
Hmm.
And you used to come on TV because I used to watch you on TV
Yeah.
when it was Jehovah Jireh.
Yeah.
Why did you change the name of your church from Jehovah Jireh to New Faith Christian Church?
Yeah. We changed the name when the Lord had first spoke to me about the name of the church when I think this was during my first marriage, and uh, I heard him say Jehovah Jireh. That means the Lord will provide.
Mm-hmm.
And after the first year, we changed it to New Faith Christian Church for a number of reasons. One of the main reasons was we had so many Jehovah Witnesses that was coming to the church,
Mm-hmm.
and um, for whatever reason, they kept showing up,
Mm-hmm.
and that was the main reason why we changed the name of the church. And so, as we were trying to figure out what the new name was going to be,
Mm-hmm.
New Faith just came out of nowhere. Because
Okay.
at first it was Jehovah Jireh World Ministries, and then we changed it to Jehovah Jireh Christian Church. They kept coming,
Mm-hmm.
so then we changed to New Faith Christian Church. They stopped coming.
Okay. um, your beautiful wife, she joined your church when it was Jehovah Jireh.
Yes,
She joined your church when it's Jehovah Jireh.
yes,
Okay. So in comes your beautiful wife.
yeah. She came. She came in month number 1.
Okay. So when she came in, was you like, I'm gonna marry this woman?
No,
Or
that wasn't my intention
okay.
at all. That was the furthest thing of my mind, because
Mm-hmm.
at the end of the day, my mindset was I'm not marrying nobody until I get at least 500 members.
Okay.
Because I know by the time I get 500 members, I get married, 250 of them gonna leave.
Okay.
So my plan was not to get married, but it just sort of happened. Like, it wasn't intentional. It wasn't because I never felt like I was gonna be backtracking.
Right.
Because me and Lorana, we dealt with each other in like 92, 93.
Mm-hmm.
And we ain't had no dealing since then.
Right.
You know what I mean? So, but we remain cool, cordial and all of that. We see each other, we speak, but as far as there was no communication. Um, um, she wasn't on my list of trying to go back and reconcile anything with. It just sort of like happened, like it just happened.
Just happy. How did you know, like, this my wife, this gonna be the first lady? Cause y'all go together so good. Like y'all,
Yeah,
it fits.
it
Like
it fits, but it hadn't always fit.
mm-hmm.
Because in the beginning there was a lot of bumping heads.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Because you got an alpha female that ain't never really submitted to no dude.
Mm-hmm.
Period. She ran the show in every relationship that she was with.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody she was with in the past, she basically ran the show.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm alpha, like alpha, alpha, alpha. So I'm not going for all that. So in the beginning, we were like clashing and bumping heads.
Mm-hmm.
And when you have a high-powered woman that's making 6 figures a year on her own,
Mm-hmm.
it's a challenge.
Yeah.
So um, I was telling your brother, marriage is not your first ministry, it's a job.
Mm-hmm.
And like for those first couple of years of us trying to gel and learn each other, because at the end of the day, when we dealt with each other in the past, we was teenagers.
Yeah.
I think I was 19, she was 16.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? 20, 17.
Mm-hmm.
So we was young. So it wasn't, we didn't deal with each other as mature adults with
Right.
kids
Right.
and goals and, you know, vision and dreams and hopes and desires. So, and I remember telling her, you said it. I remember telling her when we first got married, and she was like, we really, we look good together. And I was like, yeah, on paper.
Mm-hmm.
On paper, this looked good. But I knew that it was going to take some work. So like, we've been together now for 12 years. You know, we've been married 12 years. So it's like we on the other side of the, what I would call the trials and the tribulations and,
Mm-hmm.
the valleys. You know what I mean? We stuck together now at this point. I mean, I'm finna be 51 in July. I mean, we're in July. In 3 weeks, I'm gonna be 51 years old. So we stuck together. We already said it. We, you know, we go our separate ways, we can still be in the same house together. We stuck.
Yeah.
At this point.
Yeah, I get it. So Bishop, you set a perfect example of how a blended family should look. How did you do that? How did you bring your children's mom together? Because this is very hard in the Black community, and you set a perfect your family, the blended family, the Phelps, you set a perfect example of that.
It's, you know, it was hard in the beginning, but we made it about the kids. You know what I mean? So it's like we put them first, regardless of how anybody else feels. And I was telling your brother, like even this past Sunday, my ex-wife and her husband was at church with us. So it's like we all get along. It's nothing fake. Like we get along. My wife and my ex-wife, they're friends. They went to high school together, so they knew each other before I knew either of them. You know, so it it took a lot of work, a lot of sacrifice, a lot of give and take. And I think the longer they saw that Lorana was here for the long haul, and not only that, she's been an exceptional bonus mama to my children. My children actually love and adore her because she's treated my kids like they are her kids. And a lot of step parents don't do that.
Yeah.
But she has done a phenomenal job mothering my children, loving on my children. And it comes from a pure place. And I've done that even with her boys, Sammy, when he was alive, and man, when we first got together, I told both of them, I sat them down and I said, listen, I'm not trying to, you know, because both of them were really grown. Man was 17, I believe Sammy was like 19 or either 20 years old. And I set them both down. I'm not trying to be your daddy. You know, I'm whatever you need me to be in your life. If you need me to be a father figure, I'm gonna be that. If you know, just want to, you know, me to be your mother husband, I'm gonna be that. I was like, the only thing I'm telling you now, y'all can't call me by my first name. You're either gonna call me Pastor, or you're gonna call me Mr. Phelps or Mr. Eusebio, but you can't call me by my first name. And so it you know, we went through some bumps in the road in the beginning, but like now we're all on the other side of that. Like, and it's a God thing. God did it.
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing because we see this a lot in Black communities, like a lot of baby mama drama, a lot of baby daddy drama. You know, it's the white people we see come together. You know what I'm saying, for the kids. So that's why I wanted to say to you, you set a perfect example of what a blended family looks like. And that is a beautiful thing. So keep setting that example because the Black community needs to see that.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, it's when you put the children first, this is the result. But if you put your feelings first, if you know, walk around and you still mad and you hate your baby dad or you hate your baby mama, and you know, a lot of people be like, man, bump them kids.
Mm-hmm.
You can't, not as a man, not as a father. My number one goal as a father is to be to my children
Mm-hmm.
what I didn't have, what I
Right.
didn't experience, because I grew up without my dad in my life.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So that's something, a pain that I never wanted my children to feel.
Yeah. You have 7 churches, Bishop.
Yes.
That was a vision that God gave you.
Mm-hmm.
What do you say to people that feel like 7 churches is too much for one bishop?
Well, it's they don't know ministry.
Mm-hmm.
They don't know biblical history, and they don't understand they don't understand legacy.
Mm-hmm.
They don't understand leaving something on the earth that's going to be here when you're gone.
Right.
So the vision that God gave us was for 10 churches,
Mm-hmm.
and so our church has been successful for a number of reasons. One of those reasons is for 13 years of pastoring, I'm not on salary.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, because I'm not a financial burden on the church, we're able to do things that other churches cannot do because majority of the money that comes in goes to the pastor.
Right.
So, um, and not only that, I'm a shrewd businessman when it comes to real estate.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't use real estate agents. I've been to real estate school myself. I have experience in real estate, and so what I do, and it works for me.
Yeah.
And I got a great network of banks, hard money lenders, and things of that nature. And all of the churches that we have that are up and running, I've done the actual physical renovations with my own hands.
Yeah.
So,
Bishop, how important is it to stick to the vision that God gave you?
it's very important, and it's not only important, but it's hard
Mm-hmm.
because you get hit with curveballs and below the belt things that will knock you off guard, things that you didn't see coming,
Mm-hmm.
and those challenges will oftentimes make you want to just say, you know what, I'm through with this.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Because the reality of it is, and I just got to be honest, if you can, I used to think that if you could survive the streets, you could survive anything.
Mm-hmm.
But 13 years in of pastoring, if you can survive the church, you can survive anything.
Yeah.
Because surviving the streets is not as hard as surviving the church.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. Especially in Atlanta.
Yeah.
It's just it's a different culture.
How did you find out about the passing of your brother Roland?
My little brother called me.
Mm-hmm.
My baby brother Zach. Yeah.
I saw you on the news. I seen some stuff on social media, but at the time I didn't know what was going on. I saw you on the news, and it was just heartbreaking when I actually saw you on the news. Um, and I know you went through a tough time. And I how did you cope with the passing of your brother?
That was the darkest. Um, that was the darkest season of my life.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of stuff I can't even really remember, because I think I just was I was in a spiritual no man's land. I was in a dark place. I wasn't suicidal. I was homicidal.
Mm-hmm.
So it took me probably about 18 months to start to come out of that dark place that I was in.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Because I was at a place where I didn't care about nothing or nobody
Yeah.
at that time. So my little brother was my heart. He still is my heart. So with us being 15 years apart, he just wasn't my little brother. He was like my son.
Yeah.
So it's a different, like, even I was his godfather.
Yeah.
So, you know, his first car, I bought it. The car that he was driving the day he got killed, he got it from me.
Yeah.
So that was my baby. That was my baby boy. I mean, we went through so much. My mama lost 2 kids, and I was the only child by my mom. So my mom lost a child at 3 months. She lost a child at 6 months. So when she had the Roland, it was a miracle. you know, because we had already lost 2 other children, her and my stepfather. So his loss was one of the hardest hits of my life.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was hard.
Y'all know what time it is.
Y'all know what time
It's
it
that
is.
real talk, straight talk with the
You know
royal
what it
court.
is.
How important is tithing?
For me, tithing, I wouldn't be where I am without tithing. Like, and I'm thankful for Bishop Murray, who taught me about tithing, because it opened up the windows of heaven for me personally. You know, because I really believe that that's a principle that, number one, is grandfathered in. It's not something that we do out of fear. We don't do it because we're afraid of being cursed with a curse. We do it because we're appreciative of what God has given us. We tithe based upon the example of Abraham when he paid his tithe to Melchizedek. Nobody told him to give a tenth. He said, God, you've taken me from a nobody and made me a somebody, and you blessed me, and you've given me victory against my enemies. For that, I'm willfully giving you a tenth of everything I have. So for me, it's what I do. It's what I teach my kids to do. It's what my wife does. We're the biggest givers in our church.
Is there a difference when you're tithing to the church and tithing to a homeless person on the street?
Yeah, it's a big difference, because when you can't tithe to a homeless person. It's four ways that you give in the New Testament church. It's tithes, offerings, gifts, and alms. Okay, your tithe is what God tells us in Malachi to bring into the storehouse. So the designated place for the tithe is the storehouse, which is the church. Your offerings are designated to the church. Gifts and alms is what you give to people. So if I bless somebody with a gift, that's not my tithe. If I bless somebody, if I do something kind to a homeless person, that's not my tithe. That's my alms. Legally, by God's command, the tithe belongs in the house of God. It says, bring the tithe into the storehouse. It don't say bring the tithe to the homeless. It don't say bring the tithe to a cause. It says bring the tithe into the storehouse, and the church is supposed to be the storehouse. And a lot of people don't know. The Bible says people perish because of lack of knowledge, but a lot of people don't even understand why the tithe was originally instituted. You want me break it down?
Please, because I'm asking you this for a reason, because you know, and I've been guilty of this too. Okay, I have given money to people on the street and be like, okay, that was my tithe for the week. So that's why I asked you, is it a difference when tithing to the church and tithing to this homeless person? But break it down for us.
The tithe was originated when the children of Israel went into the promised land. The tribe of Levi did not get an inheritance. So the other 11 tribes, Judah, Dan, Naphtali, Manasseh, Ephraim, all the other tribes were given a command from Moses, where God said that you all are to give a tenth. It's 11 tribes that's given a tenth to the tribe of Levi because they didn't receive an inheritance. When the Levites received the tithe, their responsibility was to take care of the poor and take care of the widows, minister to the needs of the church, and they were to give a tenth of the tithe to the priest.
Okay.
All of the offerings went to the priest.
Okay.
So the tithe was established, number one, because the Levites did not receive an inheritance. They were to live off the tithe themselves.
Okay.
They were to take care of the poor and take care of the widow out of the tithe.
Okay.
So although they did not receive an inheritance in the promised land, they received 110%. So they actually received more than the other tribes. But out of that, a tenth of that went to the priest, The rest of it, they had to take care of the poor. They had to take care of the widows.
Mm-hmm.
If people would tithe, we could eliminate it's not the government that's supposed to take care of the poor and the widows.
Mm-hmm.
It's the church.
Mm-hmm.
But the reality of it is, in the church, whether it's a black church, white church, Pentecostal, Catholic church, the numbers is only 20% of people that make up the household of faith are faithful tithers.
Mm-hmm.
So that means 20% of the people in the church do 80% of the work.
Mm-hmm.
It's the 20-80 principle.
Okay.
So, but the average Christian don't tithe.
Yeah.
And so
now we know if we give to the homeless person, we just getting a
alms.
blessing.
Yeah, that's
but we ain't getting the tithing blessing.
Yeah, that's it's a difference.
Okay.
It's a difference. That tithing blessing, man, it like I'm doing things in my life that nobody in my family on both sides has never done.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody on my mama's side, nobody on my daddy's side has ever done the things that I'm doing. Yeah. It's a result of me tithing.
Yeah.
And I don't just tithe for me, I'm tithing for my children's children.
Mm-hmm.
I'm tithing so that they'll be blessed based upon, because God promised.
Mm-hmm.
If you tithe, he promised he would take care of your seed.
Yeah.
So for me, it's about covenant. God is about covenant. Everything about God is about covenant. Marriage is covenant.
Yeah.
So God is a God of covenant. And when you tithe, I believe because I tithe,
mm-hmm. I
believe it saved my life. Even when I backslid,
mm-hmm.
I believe the tithe kept me from being killed.
Mm-hmm.
It's just something about the tithe.
Yeah. I want to ask you, of course, I watch your wife, The Provoking Moments. I always watch that. And I watch Sunday service sometimes on your Facebook page. Now you have a Baptist background.
Mm-hmm.
But when I watch you guys on Sunday morning, it's more of a Pentecostal.
I'm gonna tell you why.
Mm-hmm.
When the 1 year that I lived with my father when I was a kid, we were in a Kojic church
mm-hmm.
in Germany, and so being in that, I learned fasting. I learned about the Holy Spirit. I learned about the gifts of the Spirit when I was 8 years old.
Mm-hmm.
I was in the 3rd grade in Germany, and that was the difference. So like for me, I got like a Bapticostal type
mm-hmm.
flow. You know what I mean? I'm not a Pentecostal. I'm not Baptist. I'm a Bapticostal.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but there's a balance. You know, I'm well balanced in between the two, because those are my influences.
Yeah. Yeah, like I said, is I watch it, I see the Pentecostal, and then you get up there and sing a good old Baptist hymn,
Yeah.
And that's why I asked you that, because we had a grandmama that was on the motherboard at Wright Street. Okay. And then we had another grandmama that was on the motherboard at Hensley Chapel in Greater Community. So we got to experience both, the Baptist and the Pentecostal. So that's how I could tell the two when I see it. But I love them both, really, to be honest. I love Baptist and Pentecostal.
Oh yeah, I mean, I still, like, most of my family on my father's side, they still attend Pilgrim. Mm-hmm. So they die hard Pilgrim. My auntie is the second church secretary at Pilgrim. Mm-hmm. My grandmother was the first. Mm-hmm. And so
Pilgrim is up there by Elizabeth, right?
Yeah, we was right over
Back to the Bible.
Cross street from Back to the Bible. We was a little church over the right by the railroad tracks.
That's is that Pastor Mitchell? Reverend Mitchell?
It's Reverend Mitchell
Reverend
now,
Mitchell?
But back then when it was Reverend Dodd.
Okay.
When I was a baby, it was Reverend Dodd. I used to be in his study. I used to be in the study with him and my grandfather when I was 2-3 years old.
Yeah.
I can remember.
Y'all know what time it is.
Y'all know what time it is.
It's that real talk, straight talk with the royal queen.
You woke up one morning and you were trending on social media, IG and Facebook. Mm-hmm. What's an open rebuke? Because I heard that this was something more that they did. I guess kind of like back in the day a little bit. Mm-hmm. What's a
Well,
Explain to us what's an open rebuke.
The Bible says that open rebuke is better than secret love, but that wasn't a rebuke.
Okay.
That wasn't a rebuke. What happened is somebody sent to Larry Reed a edited video. So they highlighted all the stuff that would perceive or come across as negative, but left out all of the things. You're my son. I love you.
The good part.
I support you. I believe in you. So that's how all the negativity came about, and people made decisions and passed judgment based upon limited information. They didn't know all the facts. They still don't know all the facts.
Were you shocked were you shocked when you woke up and you were trending?
Yeah, I was shocked.
Yeah.
I was shocked, and I was pissed off.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was highly pissed. I was pissed off to the highest level of pistivity. this was Abby was woke up.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I didn't want to go too much into that, but I just wanted to speak that you woke up and you were trending.
Yeah, I was trending, and I was at the end of the day, when you do things and it's coming from a pure place, and people would try to make you seem like you're a tyrant, and they leave off all of the facts, all the things that you have done for this individual, when you didn't even have it to do, but you still did it. I'm talking about major stuff that I've done. Like there's not too many people that's a bigger giver than me. You know what I mean? Like, I don't got people out of jail. I don't pay people child support. I don't pay the down payment on people's houses. So for me to be who I was and to do what I've done, and to allow me to be attacked when the individual could have easily just killed it with a post, that's sort of disappointing.
Yeah.
Especially when it was a doctored up video.
Yeah. Bishop, how do you deal with negative things on social media, subliminals? How do you?
It depends on which mood I am. Sometimes I'm here for it, and sometimes I'm clapping back. Sometimes I'm gonna tag your name. I've done that before. But the reality of it is, social media has its good place, but then it has its bad place, because it gives cowards a platform to say things subliminally that they would never say to your face.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Especially me.
Yeah.
Because I'm saved, I love the Lord, but I was still not the nigga slap out.
Yeah.
Quick, fast, and hurry.
Yeah. I'm getting there in life. Well, I've come a long way, with subliminals and stuff. I've learned when I hit my 40s, don't even give it your energy. That's me, and that's big for me, because the younger me I was ready. I was.
But I would. It's like, since I've gotten older, it's like, I'm in my 50s now. I'm glad to be able to say that, but my patience, I just don't have.
Zero tolerance.
Yeah, I don't have patience. So, but I have learned how to block people. It releases the anger. You know what I mean? But yeah, so the blocking ministry is real.
Yeah.
And I won't just only stop. I block them, they mama, they daddy, sister, brother, cousin, auntie, uncle, classmate from kindergarten.
Do you feel like you get a lot of backlash from our city because of your past?
No, that's just hate. That's hate, and I'm gonna tell you why. Because there's a lot of respect when I come around, and because when I come around, if I ride through the circle and they smoking weed, when I pull up, they gonna hide it. If they curse, they gonna say, "Damn, oh, excuse me, sorry, Bishop." You see what I'm saying? So that's respect.
Yeah.
So the negativity comes just from we come from I love my city. but there's some hate in our city.
Oh yeah.
And the same hate that I have now in my 50s is the same hate I had when I was a teenager.
Mm-hmm.
But some of these dudes still mad about their girl.
Mm-hmm.
Let's just be real.
Mm-hmm.
That's where the hate come from.
Yeah.
Because, they still mad about their girl.
Mm-hmm.
That's just the reality of it.
Why do you feel like people get so stuck though? Because it's like you living life, you making things happen, and it seems like a lot of times people that have a lot to say about you really don't have nothing going on.
Nothing at all.
Have you noticed that?
No.
Like a lot of people on social media that attack you or got something to say about you, and it's like you just look at them like,
you at home
well,
with
if
your
you was
mama.
getting some money,
You
you wouldn't have time to be worried about what I got going on. Exactly.
I'm living. You know what I mean? I'm living. When I leave this earth, they gonna know I was here.
Right. Right.
After 40, 50 years later, they gonna know he was here.
Right. Why do you feel like a lot of entrepreneurs and successful people don't get that support from our hometown, and it comes from strangers? And I'm asking you this because I remember when my brother, you know, went in business, and I was telling him from experience with my bounce houses. I just straight up told him, I was like, but don't look for that support like that in our city. It's going to be the strangers that really help you.
It's like this. Like most of the people that I would say 98% of the people that's a part of my ministry and that have supported my ministry have been people that I didn't even know 15 years ago.
Right.
20 years ago. I didn't even know them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that's just and I think every small town is like that. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, because we'll have that. And I dealt with it when I was in the streets, though. It ain't no different.
Yeah.
Like when I was in the streets, I got everything what they got down at Bankhead, and I got it at a cheaper price. And you ain't taking the risk of running down to Bankhead and getting robbed or getting pulled over trying to go down there and get what you need to get. But they would rather go down to Bankhead than come see me. Yeah. You know what I mean? So it's the same thing. Like most of the people that supported me when I was in the streets, it was outside support anyway.
Yeah.
So I'm used to it.
Yeah.
Like Marietta is Marietta.
Yeah. Yeah. Why is it that when a bishop or a pastor falls short, they get hit the hardest?
I don't, oftentimes it's because people want to see them fall. They want to see you fail.
They're looking for something.
It takes a special type of person to, number one, want to see you win. And everybody, especially in our culture, they don't want to see you win. Case in point, look at all the hate that LeBron getting because of what just happened with his son.
Right.
You know what I mean? But that's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to set up something and be in a position to where your children can be blessed based upon your craft and what you're doing and what's been your life work. So my life work and everything that I'm doing, my daycare, the car dealership, ministry, real estate, all this is for my children. That's what I'm supposed to do.
Right.
So if I leave, my kids supposed to take over my dealership. My children's supposed to have some level of authority within my ministry.
Right.
My kids supposed to take over my daycare. That's what it's about. That's what we do it for.
Right. Do you feel like people forget that bishops and pastors and reverends and deacons are humans?
Oftentimes they do, but there is a higher standard for those that are called, those that are chosen, those that have titles. There is a higher level of responsibility, and we should hold ourselves to a higher standard. It's no different than the officer of the court. If a lawyer does something illegal, they're going to be penalized differently than an average citizen. Same thing with a police officer or a judge.
Right.
They're going to be held accountable more because as an officer of the court, you're held to a higher level. So as an officer of the church, you're held to the higher level. But at the same time, although they're held to a higher level, remember that they're still human and they're subject to fall. They're subject to have a bad day. And, you know, they're subject to do everything that you can do because they like it just as much as you like it.
Right.
So,
how important is it to study the word on your own?
it's very important, you know, to study it on your own if you have clarity. Because you can be, if you don't have clarity, you can be misled. Because there's a difference between exegeting a biblical text and eisegeting. Eisegeting a biblical text is when you read the Bible, read a passage of scripture, and you come up with your own interpretation. You know, exegeting the text is when you find out who's the writer of the text, who was he writing to, what was going on at that time, why did he write it. You understand what I'm saying? So I'll give you a case in point where scripture says, you know, when Paul says, I don't permit women to speak in church. People took that that verse out of context. Paul wrote that based upon what was going on in that particular church. This wasn't a standard or a practice where he's saying women should be silent in church. But some men have taken that to put women in a position of submission in the church where they can't speak or they can't preach or they can't stand in the pulpit. I don't believe that.
Yeah.
I believe that anything a man can do in church, a woman can do in church.
Because to some pastors, that's like a big deal to them. They have a problem with that, with women preaching and being evangelists. And I mean, I've even heard that before. Like, well, it's in the Bible that women shouldn't preach.
It's not in the Bible that women shouldn't preach.
Yeah.
Junia, the Bible says Junia was one of the super apostles. She's referenced in the Bible as being one of the super apostles. She was a female.
Bishop, what advice would you give the 18-year-old Ebby?
Man, wow, that's a good question. I would tell the 18-year-old me, don't do it. I would tell him, don't do it. But at the end of the day, at 18, I was already caught up. Like I was already getting to the money. And we talking about I was 18. I turned 18 in 91. So by the time 92 came in, I was already getting like a half a key at the time. By 93 came, I was already buying a key of cocaine. I was 19 years old.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, and I was taking a key of cocaine, cooking it, making it 2 keys. So it just was, yeah, I would tell the 18-year-old me, don't do it.
Yeah.
You know, because it's only by the grace of God that I'm still here. I should have been dead a long time ago. Like from getting high, you know, back in the day, I was like the first young dude to be, you know, snorting powder, all of that. And I came home from the feds, and the same people that was laughing at me because I was snorting powder, they was snorting powder. I was like, wow.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And some of them still snorting powder today.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm like, wow, I think you're a little bit too old for that, dog.
Yeah. But you have a story, you have a testimony, and I feel like to grab the younger people, they want to listen to somebody that's been through this, and this. You know, they look at it like, well, how can you tell me something if you haven't been through anything in life?
Yeah, man. When I was 18, the difference is when I was 18, I really didn't have nobody to come. Nobody came and got me. Like I grew up in church. When I went astray, nobody came and snatched me. Nobody, not one person came to say, don't do this. You know, because at the end of the day, when you start making money, everybody hand out at that point.
Yeah.
Everybody hand out. So it's a difference, man, because a lot of us, you know, that were in the streets and that were young, getting money from, you know, and then you got to think about it. me and my cousins were the ones that was like really getting to the money. Like we was young. Talking about me. Really, you got to start with Sean. Got to start with Sean Ragland first. 'Cause that's my older cousin. You got to start with Sean. You got to start with Sean, Fred. You know, then they started first. Then me, Kenny Boo, Eugene. So we just took everything to the next level.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But it's a different situation and a different culture now because we were like true hustlers. So I think like this generation, the true hustlers not there. I think they do like a lot of scamming and you know what I mean, stuff like that. But we were like really getting to the money. Like for me, if I was broke, I wasn't going to the football game. I'm staying on the circle. You know what I mean? Till I sell out. You know what I mean? I see y'all at Crystals.
Yeah.
Y'all go to the game. I'm gonna be right here on the circle till this pack gone.
Yeah.
So
I saw a lot of that in the 90s. You know, the hustlers in the 90s, because you know all my big cousins.
Yeah.
You know, my cousin Uki, Oliver Bill.
All of them.
But this generation, they hustle different. They poor hustle.
Yeah.
You know, do you feel like it's not enough black men out here trying to mentor these young men?
That's a good question. Maybe it isn't, but at the same time, I'm not sure that it's wanted either. Because it's the younger kids now, like they're different than how we were. You know what I mean? Like when I was a teenager, I had my first car. I was 16. I wasn't in the streets when I got my first car. I got it because I worked 3 jobs. I worked 3 jobs during the summer, saved up the money, and paid down my own down payment. My mama put the car in her name. That's how I got my first car. A lot of these dudes, they 19, 20, ain't even got a driver's license yet.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like they don't have no car. So the hustle is totally different. Like we hustled because we wanted out of the projects. You know what I mean? We were tired of going to school with 2 pair of pants. You know what I mean? We were tired of going to school with the pair of pants that you got in the 6th grade. You wore them again in 7th grade, and you had the cuff, and then in the cuff with the crease mark from where you had it folded up your 6th grade year. You see what I'm saying? So like we hustled because we wanted our mama out the projects.
Yeah.
We wanted to take care of mom. We wanted to make sure she was straight. So it's just a different culture now.
Yeah.
Like they hustle to buy weed.
Yeah.
Just so they can smoke.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Back then in the 90s, you know, I feel like we had those grandmas and aunties that, hey, come here. Or they go tell our mama on us and they get us together. Do you feel like now we don't have that because people are more so like, well, you know, it ain't my child out there doing it?
I can agree with that because I'll tell you, like even in the 90s, if my grandmother, who I went to church with, my dad's mom, she came down with Alzheimer's when I was like 10 years old.
Okay.
Now she was probably my favorite person on the planet was my grandmama. Like me and my grandmama was like this. So I know for a fact she sent me to school with a briefcase because my plan was to be an attorney. I wanted to be a lawyer. So that's why I got the grades that I got in school. If my grandmother, I'm 100% sure, had my grandmother being healthy and not sick and was able to talk and be who she was in my life, ain't no way I would have went in the streets.
Yeah.
I never would have disappointed my grandma. No way I would have let my grandmama down.
Yeah. It's something about them grandmamas.
It's something about them grandmamas. I'm talking about.
It wasn't our moms we didn't want to let down. It was our grandmother we didn't want to let down.
Yeah, my grandmama, man.
Ain't that something?
That was my baby.
Yeah, that is. I mean, that is like even with our grandma. You know, our mama knew. Okay, but don't tell her. Please don't tell our grandmama. we got in trouble. Please do
Yeah.
not tell my grandma.
Yeah.
What's the craziest thing you ever heard about yourself in our city?
Oh wow. Wow. Oh, a few years ago, I stopped on Roosevelt Circle. I saw Tracy. Me and Tracy, we grew up together on Lemon Street. We was kids, and we were best friends when we were little. And so, I still got love for Tracy. That's my baby. That's my dog. So of course, I see Tracy, I'm gonna get out the car. So I get out the car. I'm standing on the circle. I'm in my Escalade, and I stay over there maybe like 10, 15 minutes talking to Teresa, checking on Tez, and about a week or two later, they were saying, this like 2019, they saying, I'm back on the block selling sacks. So I don't feel all the way off. I don't feel all the way off to 1988, 1989, 1990. I'm selling sacks. Okay. Around same thing, 2019, I was on Grigg Street. My Aunt Missy she hired me to renovate the house that she had on Grigg Street, which used to be my grandmother's sister's house.
Okay.
And so I'm over there every day for like a month doing the renovations on that house. About 2 weeks later, they said I got a girl pregnant that live in Louisville. So I'm just trying to figure out who I got pregnant in Louisville. Those were some of the craziest things I heard about myself. And I said, well, why ain't tell me? You know what I mean? That was one of the craziest things.
Now they come up, they pull some stuff out the hat. I'm telling you, sometimes they really do.
Y'all know what time it is.
Y'all know what time it is.
Real talk, straight talk with the royal
You know what it is. It's straight talk with the royal queen.
Y'all know what time it is. It's straight talk with the royal queen.
We straight talking with the royal queen right now.
It's that time when you finna hit that real talk, straight talk with the royal queen.